Hello and welcome to Naivety Gaming. I'm your host Matt, and this is the second week of Cheap Weekly Nindies. Make sure to like and subscribe. We've got a lot of great content coming on up. Next Monday we'll actually be having a release trailer for lots of content to be coming up in January. So stay tuned for Monday as we have a new trailer coming on out for a January series. For those who don't know, Cheap Weekly Nindies is where I browse the eShop and find games that have been released in the past week for $10 or less. And going off of our recent releases tab, we've got a couple of interesting games. We've got Peace Death for $5. I'm actually probably going to be picking up a Race Arcade sometime in the future. That was released within the past couple of days for $10. Gris, a artsy kind of platforming game, reaching a lot of great reviews, has also been released for $17. What else? I don't know, that's kind of the bigger ones. There's Grip as well. Everybody is probably still playing Smash, and everybody in my friend group who has a Switch is definitely doing so. But the game for this week is actually called Solar Flux by Firebrand Games. Unfortunately, no videos here, but no worries there. Explore the farthest reaches of space and solve celestial puzzles in Solar Flux. I just realized I picked yet another puzzle game, guys. Ah! I don't mean to do this, but it happens. Galaxies are in turmoil as their suns are dying. The Solar Galaxy Federation has deployed vast flux accumulator ships to collect plasma and restore the sun's equilibrium in each nebula. Solar Flux is a unique space puzzle game where you journey across the universe using both puzzle solving and dexterity skills to bring order to the cosmos. Supernovas, asteroid fields, meteors, black holes are just some of the challenges you'll encounter as you sail your ship through the solar flares of each imploding sun. Solar Flux features 80 progressively challenging missions, 4 unique galaxies, each with their own unique challenges. Earn 3 stars in each mission for total bragging rights. So again, Solar Flux is by Firebrand Games, and this definitely looks unique. Graphics look very good, so I'll probably be talking a lot about that. Supported play modes, docked TV, stand-up Switch, which nobody really does, and then the Holdy Switch. Released a week ago today, so I think I will just go on with reviewing Solar Flux by Firebrand Games. I'm very interested to play this $10 game, and I hope you guys will be interested too. Hello and welcome to Solar Flux by Firebrand Games. In my initial kind of reading of the eShop page for Solar Flux, I was already interested in a matter of different ways. It definitely looked like a very unique game, and let me tell you, it very much so is so different and is such a nice breath of fresh air and, spacey kind of puzzle games. I think you guys will really enjoy this game, so I should actually go back and say there are 4 different types of galaxies. So obviously start with our first one of Helios, and before we jump on into the actual levels, I will show you some training of various ways of how you get started with this game. So with movement, so you use your L joystick to be able to choose your direction, and you hit A to apply thrust. And then of course, this game is about collecting plasma that you can then shoot into stars to make them reach equilibrium rather than them imploding on themselves and causing a very destructive force that can ruin entire solar systems. So that was like your little pod that you have here. So when you're first starting these actual levels, you're actually being shot out of this kind of docking system, this little space station. And again, using A and using the left joystick to rotate the space station, you can choose the direction of where you're going to shoot your little pod of some variety. So far so good. We're just collecting plasma. Nothing too intense yet. So, stabilization. As I was saying before, the whole point of the game is to collect plasma to make sure that the suns will reach stabilization so they don't implode. That being said, we'll shoot off by collecting this little plasma. Use our boost to collect remaining plasma. And then we'll actually take the plasma we collected and with the right joystick and the right button, not the LR or the ZR button, just the R button on top up here. I always get it confused. We shoot our plasma into the sun. It'll create like a little solar flare as it reaches equilibrium and actually will push you across space, which will actually be a pretty important proponent for future levels. One of the other very unique natures is the idea of orbits, which again happens because gravity in space and whatnot creates an orbit around a planet. So without even doing any thrusting whatsoever, you get shot off from your space station, and then you just kind of get into orbit. And again, with the solar flare, as it's showing there, you can actually be pushed into closer orbit, or if you're pretty on the outside of the orbit, let's say closer to your pod, that side of things, at the dark side of the planet, you may actually be able to be pushed out of orbit into another orbit, or just off into space. So, more or less, that's what this level, or this training level, is saying. Is as we're collecting plasma, we'll now shoot the sun with said plasma, and be sent off into orbit here. So again, we gotta do the same thing. Shoot the sun. And we have completed our next training level. Fortunately, our level ends as the sun hits equilibrium. Fortunately, because as you can tell, our pod is going to have to waste a lot of fuel to get back to the space station, and that's something that we don't personally have to worry about. So, our first actual mission. Oh boy. So, the very interesting thing is this game is, its 3-star scoring system is represented up top, and actually using fuel is a very important role in this game. The less fuel you use, the higher the score, as well as the time that is shown up top. Hopefully the webcam in post does not put over any of that, probably in the middle screen, but that's post-production problem. So, where do we even go? Because I wanted to be, in my first run through, I shot it out here, but then had to use quite a lot of fuel to be able to push it back in, back into orbit. Something else that hasn't necessarily been touched on yet is you actually have a shield. The longer you're in the sunlight, the more heat damage you take. So be very aware of that so you don't accidentally, I don't know, spend all your time in the sun and then find out that you're out of health, which is not good. So honestly, like I said, I'm struggling to figure out where I even want to go with this. I'll try doing maybe like this. Just a little amount. I can't even... Okay. Apparently I can't shoot it off. So yeah, as you can tell, my shield is very much so going down. So that's something that you have to be aware of in the future. So our shield depreciated and depleted. So let's try to avoid that in the future. So I'll use my little guy here. Ooh. Yeah, as you can tell, we're already spending way too much time. It's telling me that I need to hit minus to pause the game. I'm not sure why. Okay. So the other interesting thing too, I actually might restart this level to show you guys about it. I was just trying to hit the R button to fire off the plasma, but the interesting thing is the level does not know what direction you're shooting in until you actually use the right joystick. So if I give an example here, collect plasma, I'm just hitting the right button, but it doesn't do anything. But if I kind of aim, it'll show me which direction it's going in. So, again, naturally I'm screwing up my time and my shield levels. So let me just kind of sit back in here for a little bit. Can I do a snipe from back here? Whoops. So these plasma does actually respawn after being shot off unnecessarily, which is nice to know. However, then your time will be very much so larger than you want it to be. So with this second mission here, it is really describing, hey, you can kind of slingshot from one orbit to another, probably by means of the solar flares. So we'll enter orbit of our first little planet. We'll collect our little plasmas. So let's see if we can... How do I want this? Push it out. Nope, that was not what I wanted. That's unfortunate. So we'll collect these plasma again. Shoot it off, and we have reached equilibrium. So by the looks of it, depending on which level you're playing, it'll actually say which is kind of the record that you're trying to break. With this level, it's if you use any fuel, you're not getting the point. Last level before, it's actually exclusively time-based, so if you use some fuel, you're gonna be okay. So, because I used some fuel, you know, oh well, I didn't get the highest score. So we have a leap of faith. So again, it looks like it is a fuel-based level. So let's try not to, actually, other way around. Time is not of essence, but fuel is, so let us not worry about that. Let's not use it if we can. So please note, as I'm progressively circling around this planet, my shield is getting screwed up a little bit. I'm always trying to figure out how I'm supposed to kind of jump. So let me... that's not the way to do it. I'll try to wrap this up pretty quickly. So what if I enter this orbit counterclockwise rather than what I've been doing before with the clockwise rotation? I think I might be able to scoot back over here just fine. Nope, I just entered orbit. So I'm going to screw up my score because that's not the point of this gameplay, is to get the best score. It's to review said game. I'll just shoot this guy off and we're good to go. So let's exit out. So looking through, we have quite a lot of levels. As I was saying in the eShop page, that there's upwards of 80 levels that you can complete over the 4 different galaxies. So that was Solar Flux by Firebrand Games. I really enjoyed this for a number of reasons. Its attention to detail as far as the graphics and the incredibly minimalistic, ethereal, synthy-based music in the background and the sound effects all just seem to wrap this game up in a very nice package that just makes sense. It seems realistic. The orbits and the solar flares and all of that, it just works so well. So I would definitely recommend picking up Solar Flare from the eShop today. That was our second week of Cheap Weekly Nindies. I hope to see you guys next week in the third week of Cheap Weekly Nindies. I believe we have a lot of cool games coming on up in the future. And again, check back on Monday for our announcement. That actually is Christmas Eve. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.